What's up, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here, and over the last few weeks I've been reviewing volumes of Fear Agent by Rick Remender, and today I want to talk about the third volume in this series. It is called The Last Goodbye. Here we have the cover, and this entire volume, with the exception of like 4 pages, a couple at the front, a couple at the back, this entire volume is a prequel to the events of this series. It's, I think, 4 issues long, and you know how a couple of videos ago, I don't remember in which one of my reviews I said this, or if I even said this on camera, but I think I said at one point, I'm really afraid that these reviews are going to turn into me saying, hey, you guys should check out this series, and then that be the video. That's basically my video here. This book is awesome. It is so far my favorite volume of this series. It's really great, and I don't have a whole heck of a lot else to say. It does answer some questions that I had. This is another thing I don't remember if I said on camera or not, but I wasn't exactly sure just how far in the future Fear Agent was set. We had this guy, Heath Huston, and he's from Texas. I wasn't sure if he was from Texas in the year 2550 or if he was from Texas 30 years in the future. Turns out he's from the present day. This is an alternate present because he's talking about George Bush as the current president. And so at the time that this series came out, George Bush was the president. So this is set very, very close to the present day, the series. And basically, like I said, I don't have a whole lot to say about this book. This shows us kind of how Heath Huston went from being a happy family man to the kind of character that he is in the present day. And that is one thing that I do want to address really quickly. In the first 2 volumes, especially at the beginning of Volume 1, Heath Huston is presented as almost a comical character. He doesn't seem to be a very serious character. He's presented as a drunk, an alcoholic, but it's almost a funny alcoholism. It's almost like Janeway and her coffee in Star Trek Voyager. It doesn't seem like it's an actual problem for the character. He's presented as being very cavalier about everything, and he doesn't feel like a tragic character. Now, we start to get bits and pieces of his past as we move forward. In Volume 2, we find out a little bit about his past, and it's a tragic past, but it still doesn't seem like he is a super tragic, super involved, very deep character. It's just a guy who lost some family members in an alien invasion. And it's maybe a little bit incongruous with how he acts in those stories, but you're thinking, okay, 5 years ago he lost some of his family members, maybe he could have gotten over it in that length of time, and now he's kind of bitter, but he's almost like Mal Reynolds from Firefly, where he still has a little bit of a perky, snarky side. This book shows just what depths and what lengths Heath Huston went to, just how far he fell during the time of the alien invasion. And we get a lot more backstory on not the Tatalians. They were kind of the main threat in Volume 2. Those are the characters who organic brains inside robot bodies. We don't really get any more on the Tatalians, although there is a really fantastic reference to one of the minor characters from Volume 2 in this book. And if you had just read this book, if you were the kind of person that wanted to read this series in chronological order of the timeline, if you read this volume first, there would be a reference here that you wouldn't understand unless you had read Volume 2. But it's a minor thing, and I thought that was a cute little reference to Volume 3, or Volume 2. But you get a lot more about the Dressites, which at this point, we really hadn't gotten a lot of them. The Dressites were present in Volume 1, and they were kind of the ones who were responsible for sending Heath and Mara back into the past. And then Volume 2, we got almost nothing on the Dressites. And now in Volume 3, we get a lot more about them. And I would say their motivations are murky at best. We find out that the Dressites, the main Dressites on their own home planet, they are actually a pacifist species. They are very peaceful, very non-violent creatures. But they have a military, and their military are almost psychotic. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I have no idea if Rick Remender is trying to make a commentary on the military or a commentary on war or how war changes people. I really have no idea, but what very little we get on the Dressites is very odd and unusual. So basically we find out here, and this is a pretty decent spoiler for this book, so if you haven't read this book and you do want to, go ahead and turn off your video right now because I don't have that much more to say about this book other than pick it up, go ahead and start reading this series because it's awesome. So anyway, spoilers from here on out. We find out that the Tatalians, they're actually the ones who invaded Earth first. And then the United Federation of Planets, or whatever it is that they're called, basically the Federation from Star Trek, it's a big coalition of alien races from around the universe, they sent the Tataudians, the Tataudians were the invaders, they sent the Dressites to stop the Tataudians from invading Earth. But for some reason the Dressites said, you know what, we're sick of this job, we're just going to start shooting these Earthlings and Tataudians. So you had two groups of alien races, and then there was actually a third group that's not important. They were just lizard people, and they were scavengers. They just come to any world that's being invaded to try and get stuff, but they weren't important in the grand scheme of things. And so you have the Tataudians who are invading because that's what they do. They invade and they try and turn other people into Tataudians. And then you have the Dressites who were actually sent to stop the Tataudians, but for some reason the Dressite military is completely insane and very violent, even though the Dressites as a whole are a non-violent species. Still doesn't make any sense to me why a non-violent species that is characterized as being non-violent would have a military in the first place. I don't know. Maybe that's going to be explored more later on, or maybe that's as much exploration as we will get. But they basically just lost it, and they decided they're going to start destroying these Earthlings as well as the Tataudians they were sent to destroy. And then here's where we find out just how much of a flawed, how much of a deeply disturbed character Heath Huston is. At one point, he thinks that his wife is dead. And bear in mind, he's already lost his father and his son. He thinks that this one guy has actually betrayed the human race and has killed his wife. So he takes a teleporter and goes to the Dressite home world. And they have this chemical that if you spray just a little bit on a Dressite, it will completely destroy them. And he sets off this bomb that destroys like 7 billion Dressites. It basically destroys every Dressite that's on that planet, and the only ones that are left are the psychotic military Dressites, who are still a presence in the present day. They are still a threat in the present day. Only now they're really angry because somebody out there destroyed their entire planet and all of their people. So if you think they were mad before, in this story, now in the present day, they're extremely angry. And this is where I really feel like Heath Huston is being very inconsistently handled in this series. The first couple of volumes, he's handled a lot like Mal Reynolds from Firefly, like I said. He's a cowboy out in outer space, just having a good time, trying to get a drink whenever he can get it. Then you find out he's got a little bit of a tragic past. A couple of his family members died in the invasion, but it seems like he's in the process of getting over that. It seems like he's starting to get over that. And then further into Volume 2, you find out, oh, he's really into substance abuse because he's got this other chemical that is killing him. Even when he is off the chemical, he's permanently addicted to that from now until infinity. And then here you find out he's actually culpable for the genocide of an entire species. And the only person who knows is his wife, who basically said, I can't be with you anymore. You are not the person that I knew. And he thought that she was dead, and that's why he did it. He said, I don't have anything else to live for, so I'm going to go and kill this entire species that we are at war with. And then he finds out, oh, my wife is still alive, and now she's left me because of this thing that I did to end the war. And it's kind of a big slap in the face to him. And you would think, after everything that Heath Huston has gone through, that he would be a lot more similar to, say, the Punisher. You would think he would just be completely emotionally dead, and that the only emotion that keeps him going is rage. And he just goes out into the world, and he's on a death wish. He just wants someone to kill him, put him out of his misery. But before they do, he's going to try and take as many of these jerks with him as he can. He's going to search for every single Dressite that he can find and kill every last one of them because of what they did to him, how they ruined his life. You would think that he would be handled that way, and he's not in the first two volumes. And I'm very curious if Volume 4 moving forward is going to be much more, is going to address this genocide that he created, or if it's going to handle him in the same way that he was handled in Volume 1 and in parts of Volume 2, where he's kind of a humorous character. He has an alcohol problem, but it's handled more in a funny way than an actual serious, this guy has a problem way. I'm curious how the character is going to be handled from this point on. I really love this volume. It really explores the character. It really explores a lot of the backstory of this world that I didn't even realize that we needed. We really needed to see the formation of the Fear Agents, and then see that they're all dead now, partly because of Heath Huston and partly because of another guy, and we really needed to see the loss of his friends and family. We needed a 4-issue story to really explore all of that, and I didn't really realize that that was something that we really needed to kind of put the entire series into perspective. I really love this volume. I just feel like my only real criticism here is the Dressites and how they're not really explained, why their military are so violent and so crazy, and also Heath Huston himself. I feel like his character in the present day is not the same character who went through this stuff here in this story. I feel like he would be acting very different in the present day after what we found out here in Volume 3. Other than that, this is a fantastic volume. Easily my favorite of the series so far. It makes me even more anxious to read the rest of this series. And if you're one of those people who, so far you've been watching my videos and somehow you're still watching right now and you're like, I don't know, this series sounds okay, read this series. Give it a chance. At least read Volume 1. And if you don't want to start there, at least read Volume 3 because it's a prequel. And it will kind of, give you a lot of backstory. And I'm sure you'll want to go back and read the next 2 volumes if you read this one. So that's about all I have to say. That's everything. I don't have anything else to say. This is a fantastic book. I can't wait to read the next volume, and I will be covering the next volume next week. And I've got some other videos out for you guys later this week. So that's all I have to say. I hope that you guys have a great rest of the day. Hope that you liked this video. If you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys later in the week. Have a great rest of the day.